All right, so it's combined, we make about 60 grand a month running a PPA agency. My name's Christian. In about 2 months, two to 3 months, I scaled a brand new agency from zero to 33K at about like a 90% profit margin. And David, if you want to talk about yourself, you started a PPA agency how long ago? How fast did you scale it?
Yeah, so I have a couple agencies I run, but we launched a new one in December in the roofing niche, and we crossed 25 that first month. So
Yeah.
it was a pretty quick launch, and I think the majority of that is due to how the model's structured, which is what we're going to be diving into.
We're
Because
gonna be diving deep, bro. This isn't a saucy video you throw on while you're at the gym or something like that. We're gonna be going deep into what PPA is and why we run it, how we started, how it works, how we're scaling it right to 100 grand a month, and the whole 9 yards. So I'm excited, dude. We're going deep into the trenches here, just straight
yeah,
valley.
like,
I think the best place to start would be to kind of cover on both of our ends, like giving input, like what is a PPA agency? And from your, you could start from your experience, right? Like why are you doing it, and how does it work?
yeah, 100%. So I've been like kind of involved in the agency space. Actually, same with Christian for about like 3 years now. And I've got a couple different agencies, but the reason we started with the PPA model and kind of launched this new agency in December is because of how that model is structured. It's very different from the traditional retainer model. So a lot of agencies are extremely reliant on client acquisition, and you need an enormous client base with a bunch of different things you offer so that you can continue to bring new people in, right? Because if you're going to have like 80 active clients, you're going to need to be running things like SEO, Facebook ads for them, Google ads for people that want pay per click, organic brand marketing.
It's
Uh,
messy.
yeah, there's so many different offers that you're doing. And so it's this enormous, like operationally complex monster.
Yeah.
And so with what Christian and I kind of built, the goal of this was not with these new agencies was to build something that was not just like built to hit massive revenue numbers, even though it's a very capable vehicle, but one that's able to do it extremely lean and also very efficiently. And so what we do is we have one service that we offer to our clients instead of multiple. It's the same exact thing for every single client. The fulfillment is like literally copy and paste, right? There's really maybe 30 minutes of personalization for every new client we bring on board. And we're able to scale, just for reference, like the top client I have, this is not an agency I'm referencing here, but in one of my larger agencies, we've done over 20K off of one client in net profit in 1 month because those clients are just buying larger volume. They're buying in bulk, right? And so the mod we're gonna be kind of breaking down like why the mod like when you think about what it would take to charge a retainer client 20 grand, you're like you'd have to do so many different services. We're gonna be
Yeah.
breaking down how you're able to build a model that has that threshold where you can have clients worth so much. That's also the best beginner business model, the lowest barrier to entry, and kind of breaking it down because I really haven't seen. Yeah, I've been in like the business space for a long time. Obviously, most things work, but I haven't seen something that has such big upside on the back end, but also such an easy way to kind of break into the market. And we're going to be breaking down kind of
Yeah.
the numbers behind that. But that's a little context on me. If you want to talk a little bit about you, Christian.
Yeah, dude. I want to talk about like how we started it. So like for everybody kind of tuning in, we're gonna explain like what is a PPA agency. So first of all, it's like a pay per appointment, right? Like we bring our clients appointments and they pay for it. It is like a super simple transaction. It's like you're paying for appointments. Um, but like why did I get into it? So I think I don't know if it's similar to you, but did you drop out of college?
Yeah,
When? How old are you?
I dropped out my into my sophomore year.
Same
Uh,
exact.
yeah, and I've been running my business for. I started the end of my freshman year is when I started my first business. I started a landscaping agency. That was in like very early 2023, and
Yeah.
then basically like I dropped out when I was like, I'm not realistically gonna get a corporate job that's gonna make more than my business is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna double down on this. But same kind of thing as you.
Yeah. So when I was 19, I finished like my freshman year of college at
Yeah.
University of Florida.
Hmm.
And up there, like I had a decision to make. Like I joke around with my friends and I tell them, I'm like, look, I either was going to drop out and start a business or I was gonna join a frat and just be a frat bro. Like that was it. Like I had those two options, and I
Yeah.
had to like weigh it out. And that's when I learned about Iman and like his content. I fell down his funnel, man. He sold me so hard. I sold my car that my grandparents gave me in high school. It was a Jeep, for
Jeez.
20K cash, and I put all of that cash into. Well, I bought Iman's course and I bought a ton of other courses with it, and that's what got me into it, right? So like I was like, all right, I'm dropping out, moved back in with my parents here in Miami, and I started an agency. And they were always preaching like you got to do retainers, and like I also saw people doing PIFs, right? Like a upfront package for a certain duration of the service, and that's what I did, right? So I worked with realtors. I just picked that niche because my mom was a broker. Like that was literally the only reason I did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I found somebody that was running a successful real estate marketing agency. And I was like, I'm just going to replicate exactly what they do. Right. So it was a typical SMMA. I was running Facebook ads for these realtors.
Yeah.
And I remember my first client, David, I charged her, I think it was $3,000 to run her ads for a year.
Jeez.
So like, if you do the numbers on like what that comes out to monthly, it's like
You're
nothing.
making like less than $300 a month for
bro
running.
and i bro and I was like, it's 3,000 for a year. And I'll never forget, she was like, you know what, you seem like a nice kid, like let's just try it, like why not. Like she was like, it was just lucky, right?
Yeah.
And I made 3,000. I started crying after I got my first client. It legit started. I have a Snapchat picture. I legit started crying. And what I mean, the ugly part about this story is that from when I started, and I told my parents I was dropping out, and my family and my friends, and everybody called me not directly stupid, but everybody's like, "What the hell is Christian doing?" Right?
Be careful. Yeah. Make sure you're making the right decision. Yeah.
It took me a year to get that first client that I luckily got. Right? Like if you take enough action, you'll get lucky. Right? And that's literally what I did. I was so bad at all the skills, marketing, sales. I just got lucky to get that first one. But I'm sure you can relate to this. It's easy looking back when I was like 19 and saying like, yeah, bro, I was in the trenches for a year grinding to get my first client. Bro, during that time, I was down bad. Like
Yeah.
it was hard, bro. Like it wasn't working. The work wasn't working. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted to get. I thought I was going to prove everybody else right. That like, yeah, you're stupid, Christian. Go back to school, get a normal job. Like, so it was really really tough. And I say all that to basically say that knowing what I know now, I would have just done a PPA agency to start.
Yeah.
And I want to give a little explanation of like why, right? And I told you this analogy earlier. If I hire somebody to wash my car or like anything, like to remove a tree, like any type of service,
Yeah.
you'll typically always pay them after the job gets done, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, want to make sure you do a good job, then I'll pay you, right? But
Yeah.
for some reason, when I got into this space the same way you did, we were taught,
Pay
no,
up
no, no,
front, pay up
let's flip
front.
that on its head. We want to get paid. So we're going to charge you up front and hope that you trust us enough through our sales process that you're going to say yes and pay us money before we could actually deliver the service. Right? And it's like
Exactly.
flipped on its head from traditional services, right? That's what made it so hard. And that's why it took me a year to get my first client. It wasn't that I was eating shit, right? I was doing 200 cold calls a day. I started doing cold email, DMs. I was doing like everything, right?
Yeah.
I should have picked one, right? But I was doing everything. And yeah, like the point is knowing what I know now. If you do the reason a PPA offer, pay per appointment or pay per lead or pay per closed deal, the reason it works is because they're paying when you get them the result, right?
Exactly.
It's an
Exactly.
easier sell.
The other thing with, because you're right on the money, like the issue with like the agency model, like the sort of selling the dream side of it, it makes a lot of sense. Get 5 clients on 2K a month, right? Offer them a service that you can deliver in X amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Net 8, and you only have to deal with 5 people. It sounds like really nice. The issue is getting 5 clients on 2K a month, right? And so what's so interesting, I think the most powerful thing about the pay per appointment model is, just so you have reference, 9 out of 10 agencies fail, and the reason for that is because most guys don't have the cojones Christian had, which is to stick with it for 12 months when you haven't gotten a single client. They never even become a business owner. They never run ads ever because they don't actually close their first person, right? It's because it's difficult. And so with like the pay per appointment model, what it does is I mean, you kind of compare the two just so you can kind of see. with retainer, you need to convince someone to pay you up front that doesn't know, like, or trust you with really no experience, most likely, or very little, right? Then to get them to pay you that money up front, if you can get someone to do it, you kind of have to give them a guarantee, right? Because they need to know that they're going to get their money's worth. So you're like, hey, if I don't get you this, I'll give you a full refund at the end of the month if I don't get X result, which you don't know you can get. And so then there's two future outcomes that can happen. One, you're not able to deliver. You refund them, and then you're back at ground zero after doing a month of work. Or two, you get them fantastic results, right? You make them $80,000, right? You book them 30 appointments, and guess how much you make? 2K, right?
The
You have
incentives aren't aligned,
exactly. You have no upside, right? And so the issue, that's the core issue. To get someone to stick around on a retainer, they have to get very strong results, right? But then you aren't getting paid relative to the results you're getting them. And so with the performance model, the reason I really like it is, one, you can get someone in on, hey, it's either zero down and just cover ad spend, or you pay for one appointment up front, right? Very, very like fair offer. And then if they are a solid business owner that can close, right, and you book them that appointment, and they're like, hey, I see the quality of this. And then they're like, hey, let's try 5. And then maybe they close 1 out of those 5, right? That person chooses to say, hey, David, how about we do 10 this time? Instead of me trying to sell them on it, right? And a client that chooses to pay you and chooses to work with you, not based on how good it sounds, but based on how good the experience was, that client is not going to realistically leave anytime soon unless something drastic changes with either closing ability or your ability to get them appointments. And that's how you build a really steady client base that not only doesn't churn, but also continues to increase in value. Because month 1, they may buy 10 or 20. Month 2, if they close 5 of the 20 and they're like making a really good return, they're probably going to buy more the next month. And so you really start to scale that way without having to acquire, I see guys that have 20 clients, 5 leave every month. So they have to acquire 10 to keep growing, right? With this model, you only have to acquire 1 or 2 a month to keep adding to that, 1 or 2 good clients who re-up, if that makes sense.
I was kind of laughing while you were saying that, because I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, right? If I was starting off, if I was 19, I was watching us right here on this video.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, David, that's so easy for you to say, right? A client's gonna end up reselling and getting a bigger package, and you can't really see it until you actually do it. And so I'm gonna talk from real experience, right?
Yeah.
Because I was skeptical too going into this. On paper, it made a lot of sense. I'm like, dude, okay, if I could run a performance-based model, and as long as I'm confident I can book appointments with some type of mechanism, some system, I can make money. And it's very easy to sell because it's not like I'm asking them to pay before result. It's pay on result. It's like, hey, wash my car, then pay me after it. And so I had this happen with a client, David. She bought so I work with realtors, for context, and she bought an initial batch of appointments for me, right? And I brought her those appointments with homeowners, and she crushed it. I think she closed, I think it was 35% of the appointments into deals. And this is one thing we could riff off on is if you're going to do something like this, you want to be working with a high ticket industry. The economics just don't make sense if you're working with barbers and you're charging per appointment. It's what are you going to charge them, dude? $5 because their haircut's $30? It just doesn't make sense, right? So that's why a realtor closes the deal, they're making 10, 20, maybe 50K on a deal, they're seeing a big return. The point that I'm getting at, bought an initial batch, comes back to me. I didn't have to sell her. She comes back, she's like, Christian, I want to go harder next month. Let me prepay you 10 grand for X amount of appointments. Just piff 10 grand. And I was like, dude, I've never
per their request, by the way.
I've never sold in that interaction before. It was eye-opening. I was like, oh my God, right? And for context, before I knew about this performance-based model, I didn't know how many people were running this. There's an entire industry. I think we talked about this, David, that people call it a pay-per-call, right? Instead of pay-per appointment. And what these guys do is they don't I have a lot of clients, right? And I'm scaling that way. These guys get 3 people, 3 huge companies, right? They request really 100 appointments a day. These guys make $1 million a month on 3 clients.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, I didn't know people do this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people are doing this. Yeah.
And I actually think, because I actually, just like you, like looked pretty deep into the pay per call space, and I ended up we kind of touched it for a little bit and then really kind of focused on our own thing. The reason is, the one thing with pay per call that happens is essentially what you have is, you have like buyers, you have buyers, connectors, and sellers. And so these buyers, they basically buy like, hey, we will pay whoever. I don't care how you get the lead, like the call. I don't care what your source is. I don't care how much it costs you. It could cost you a
Real
dollar. I
quick,
don't
this
care.
buyer's just like a huge company, right? Like a
These are
massive
like
company.
enormous, yeah, enormous companies that are like
Okay.
insurance, like car insurance, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And they're basically like, hey, we're buying, let's say, 300,000 calls per month, right? And
Mhm.
no one agency realistically can fulfill that. And so what happens is, you have these connectors, and they connect you with a bunch of different people who generate, right? And then they're like, hey, as long as the call goes over 30 seconds, you will make $90 per call. Now, the upside of that is, you basically have unlimited volume you can sell, right? If you want to supply if you can supply that person 100,000 calls, they'll buy them, which is fantastic. The downside there is that the margin is significantly lower, because what these guys will generally end up buying at is somewhere a lot, and it depends industry to industry, but like 90 to $100 per call, right? It costs
Yeah.
you $50 to $60 to generate, and as you scale campaigns, margins get like
Oh,
slimmer.
that's something we can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so you're basically like netting like maybe $30 per call, and so then you have to do a pretty decent amount of volume. Whereas with what we do, because we're bringing on private clients and it's exclusive, right? They'll still buy large volume. Especially, we tell our clients that we're like, hey, if you want to own your area, you need to be buying 50 a month, right? And so people will like buy 50 to buy out their competition, even if maybe they only wanted 30. They'll be like, you know what, screw it, like let's do the extra volume so that I have a monopoly in my area on my zip code, right? But like, these people are also buying at a higher price because even it's exclusive to them, right? But our net margin is so much higher per client. So we don't have to do a ton of effort on the acquisition to acquire these clients. It's a little bit more than pay per call, but then we have such like, a 5 to 7 times higher margin on each like appointment we sell. It makes it so that we don't have to be scaling these enormous like ad campaigns on the back end. It's very streamlined.
Dude, that's yeah, yeah, that's a big difference. Like one thing I definitely want to talk about, and I want to get into like how somebody can start this, right? Like I think that'll be super valuable.
Yeah.
How somebody could actually start with like not much experience. But I want to show you, I think this is hilarious. Like, how do I sell this to like a realtor, right? Can
Yeah.
I can I can I go on a whiteboard? I wonder if this will record, but hopefully you
Okay.
should see my screen here because this is gonna be a hell of a drawing with my great handwriting. Do you see this over here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I see
All
it.
right, so let's pretend you're a realtor. I'll say, hey, realtor, I charge $200 for an appointment,
Yeah.
and I'll bring you 10 appointments. And 10 appointments comes out to $2,000. If you could close 1 out of 10 appointments, how much money are you going to make? And they'll
The
say, oh,
lowest
Christian. Yeah, or
lowest you
like, go
see is
ahead.
like, yeah, lowest you see is like 8, and it can be up to like 20, 30, sometimes 50K, depending on the realtor. But let's say it's the like worst case scenario, someone nets 8K off of a sale.
Yeah, like, yeah, Christian, I net 8K. I'm like, got it. Okay, so if we're able to close 1 out of 10 appointments, you're going to make 8K. Do you think it'd be worth spending $2,000 to make 8K? Or do you hate money? Oh no, Christian, I don't hate money. You know what I mean? Like I'm simplifying the hell out of it, but like this is like how I found it to be so easy to sell is because I'll run them through numbers like this where it genuinely does make sense. I'm like, hey, as long as you're closing at like X percentage, here, let me get rid of my whiteboard. But as long as you're closing like X percentage, you're making more money than you're paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's super important to keep in mind, um, is that a lot of these guys they'll be used to closing also like referrals, right? So they'll be used to like a 30-40% close rate. So you're like, how many out of 10 do you close? They're like, I close 4 out of 10. I always am transparent with them. I'm like, cool. You're not going to close realistically 4 out of 10 if you close 4 out of 10 on referrals, or you're probably going to close half of that. So
Yep.
probably closer to like 2 out of 10,
Yep.
right? Uh, Even so, I'll do the math with them. I'm like, but hey, let's just cut it in half again. Let's assume you close 1 out of 10. the worst case scenario is still is still very solid for them. And then the other really cool thing you can do is I incentivize people to buy a pack. I'm very transparent with them. I'm like, I want more money up front as a business, of course, just like you would, right? But I also want you to buy enough to have statistical significance. Because marketing
Yeah.
is weird. You lose money till you make money. If you buy
Yeah.
5 and you close none of them, guess what? You're out $1,000, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to incentivize you to buy 10. So I might sell per appointment at $250 each. For roofing, we sell them per appointment at $300 each. But if you buy a pack, if you buy a pack of 10, I'll knock $25 off each appointment for you. If you buy a pack of 20, I'll knock $50 off each appointment for you. Because I want to incentivize you to have a higher chance of, I'm okay with taking the lower cut because I know that if you buy 20, you are going to close at least 1 or 2 deals off of that. And even if you close one, you're still going to positively ROI, which means you're going to probably come back and buy again. Right. So our incentives are extremely aligned though. Because in the really cool thing about this model that I love, you look at any business that successfully scales. You look at like Apple, Microsoft, Google, even things like ChatGPT. Why did they grow? It's not because they had the best marketing campaigns on the planet.
Yeah.
It's because their product is extremely good. If you bought an iPhone, how many thousands of dollars do you think you've paid Apple over the last 10, 20 years? You bought the new iPhone model every year, right? You're worth, and then you buy the Mac, you buy the iPad, you buy the AirPods, you'd be like a 30, 40, $50,000 lifetime value to that client, to Apple, right? The reason is because their product is really good. So you keep buying, right? We're just leaning into the same things that every very successful company does, which is a product-led business, right? Instead of me trying to convince a ton of new people, which is very expensive, by the way, to keep buying my stuff, right? All I need to do is convince a base of people to buy it, right? And then those people keep buying it. And that's a way easier way to scale. It's significantly less expensive. It's much less of a headache, right? It's just like across the board, it's better because your clients are, they're happy to work with you. Like one of the worst parts about an agency is waking up and you have the cortisol spike of like, oh my gosh, I hope that none of my clients are like hammering my phone about like, it's been a week and we haven't closed anything yet. Like, no, the clients that can close off of the first round that they buy from you that choose to buy again are also the clients you want to work with. So like it self filters out the people you don't want to work with. It's such a beautiful, beautiful way it operates.
You gave me so many ideas right there on what you said. So first of all, I was immediately when you were talking, I was like, first thing I think about this. This is the brand new iPhone. I got it. Honestly, it's not much different than any of my other iPhones, right? But like they're just the best, man. It's sticky. I paid them a ton of money. So I completely agree with you on that point. To give you like some tactical sauce, right? I love to, obviously collect more cash up front. So like how do I sell it, right? Like we could talk that and then we could talk about like what type of marketing system people should run to like actually fulfill and all that stuff. But for me, like very simple to get something up front, right? Because like some people they'll just do like, hey, pay me as we book appointments. But if you're spending money on ads or on outreach or on, a sales team to basically help you get appointments for this, you want to be able to cover that cost, right? And so what I do, very easy, like very simple way to sell it. I'll say, look, it's $200 an appointment, right? We start with an initial batch of 10 appointments to give you enough data to make an accurate decision on if you want to continue or discontinue. Also, our average close rate, which is accurate, it's about 10%, right? I have outliers like that girl I told you is closing at like 35%. But like bare minimum, you're going to be closing 1 out of 10 appointments. So we're going to start with 10, right? Like this is how I pitch it. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, so if it's 200 an appointment, as they get booked in for the first 10, you're spending 2,000. Now, if you want to do a prepaid discount, you can front that 2,000 and we'll incentivize that by giving you an extra 10 appointments on us, just to give you more at bats and a higher opportunity to see an ROI. So they end up paying 2,000 for 20 appointments, right? And it doesn't make a difference on my bottom line because I'm not the one covering their marketing spend. Like I started the video and I said, I was like, hey, I'm at like a 90% profit margin. Some people might think I'm like full of shit, right? Which is like fair. You can think that. But like the only reason my profit margin is so high is because I get the client to cover the actual spend to get the appointments, right?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
my only expenses right now is the actual cost to do my outreach. Like I do outreach to get clients. So the cost to do the outreach, my setters, right? My guys that help me on the back end to fulfill and get appointments for my clients. That's basically it, you know? Um, so yeah, like that's kind of like how I sell it. I think to zoom out for a second, why I like this so much, like I'm saying like in comparison to other models, right? Like other business models. I have always, since I started, to go the same way. We have make more money offers, right? Like that's what our
Yeah.
offer is. It's like make more money. And it's a logical sell, right? Versus something like fitness, like weight loss, versus like, like
How
these
would
other
you
things.
feel being in better
It's
shape?
not a tangible ROI, right? As long as you could put on paper, hey, you're spending X to make Y, and they believe you, it's easy to sell. You know what I mean? So that's why I've always been in that arena. Um, but yeah, give me your thoughts. Like, do you want to pivot to how to start? Because I think like a question I would have right now is like, okay, like it kind of makes sense. How would I get people appointments? What niche do I target? Right? Like I was mentioning, go like high ticket industries, but there's a million, right? You could do home services, you could do online coaches, you know what I mean? Like you could go every different route. Let me position like, how would you start over? Like right now, no skill set, like how would you build an agency like this, like pay per appointment?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So I'll start with essentially like the foundation of fulfilling for a client can be anything. I know guys that run call centers. I know guys that run Facebook ads. I know guys that run Google pay per click. Like fulfilling for your client, there's different ways to do that, right? I think the most common way is running Facebook ads, right? You run like a cheaper cost per lead. So I think the best way to do it, if you're running ads, is a lead form ad, and then basically get that contact info and then have like a setter reach out and schedule them for your client. So fulfillment wise, keep it simple, right? But whatever your fulfillment's going to be, you want it to be very scalable, right? You don't want the ads to be need to be overly customized, right? Because then you're going to be spending a ton of time with every single client, right? You want something simple, get people to raise their hands and say, hey, I'm interested in a free home evaluation. Hey, I'm interested in a free roof inspection, right? Whatever. And then just schedule those in for your clients. In terms of getting your clients, there's a couple different ways to do this, and I'll drop a few little like
Drop sauce, bro. Give me the game.
yeah, I'll give some of the things that I really like. So, um, first of all, I think cold calling is kind of a lot of people overlook it because they do it wrong. So like, oh, cold calling doesn't work, right? Because they're following like a super generic script, right? Cold calling can work extremely well. I have videos showing me doing like outbound sets that where it's like with like a very cold prospect, and it's like it's really just about being able to, like, these people aren't dumb, right? Most of them aren't. Like they want to have success with marketing. You just have to keep in mind they've worked with a lot of marketing companies before and haven't had success. Right. So you just need to be able to explain how you differentiate and how you separate a little bit. So cold callings are really, it's like free, right? You can do it literally like as soon as you're done watching this video, you could go on Google and call, 100 businesses, and you probably get on with like two or three, and kind of talk to them and say, hey, can I do a trial with you, right? So that's one way. Um, Another way, this is something that I think is a very clever way that I've given to some people, and I've seen incredible results. So if you guys know how to create an AI avatar, you can use things like HeyGen, or
Yeah.
Fall AI. And one strategy I've given to some of the people who have come to me is go on the person's Facebook, screenshot a photo of them, and then animate it with voice on the AI thing, saying, "Hey, my
Hmm.
name's David. I created this personalized video for you. And then you basically explain your offer quickly. Would you be interested in scheduling an appointment?" And you text that to them, and you DM that to them, and you email that to them. And it's not something you can do at an enormous volume, but it's really effective because I guarantee you, if you get a DM or a text with a video of you, you're gonna watch it.
Game over,
Uh,
bro. Yeah, I'm watching that.
yeah, you're gonna be like, well, what the heck?
Uh,
That's a really effective strategy I've given to some people. That I don't know anybody else outside of myself who's like taught that, and so only a couple people I've shared that with do that, and it's not very saturated. So that's a really effective strategy to get. Especially, I'll actually still use that if I'm reaching out to a very big business, right? One
yeah.
where where like I specifically want that business because then I want to cold call them, I'll email them, I'll SMS them, just straight blue bubbles from my iPhone, and I'll send them that personalized video, DM them, like hit them from all angles, right? The most scalable way to scale acquisition realistically is going to be running ads, right?
Yeah.
Because you once you get campaigns going, that's also generally where your best clients will come from, because you're able to get in front of them on the platforms. You can do retargeting strategies, and you have people reaching out to you to work with you based off of that. But in the early stages, I think that direct outreach with a very personalized, I don't think for the most part, mass direct outreach is as effective. You need your messaging to be good so that people will actually reply. So I think like that personalized angle is very effective. And then in scale, I think the ads is a really, really good way to go. You just need to
Yeah.
understand how to properly run campaigns. But share
That's
your
interesting. Yeah, yeah, I got some game too. So like I've always been an outreach guy. Like my main skill set has always been like outreach and content, right? And
yeah.
like I also want to like preface what we're talking about by saying that I am not opposed to high ticket. Like I love high ticket. I think you do as well.
Yeah.
But it's obviously harder to sell, especially if you're going to sell something high ticket before they get the result, pay before result. You need a lot of trust and credibility in order for somebody to believe you can get them the result, right? Besides just having a guarantee, because guarantees nowadays are saturated. Like if everybody has a guarantee, it kind of resets everybody to zero, where it's like, okay, now like how do I choose from the people that have a guarantee? Like which one I
Yeah.
actually want to go with? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how the market moves.
Yeah.
But I guess I love high ticket and I do info. I do coaching. Like I have a coaching program, it's high ticket, but I expect people to go and watch my YouTube channel for 6 months, a year before deciding, like, hey, Christian's my guy. Like, I'm going to pay him a crap ton of money to help me go further. You know what I mean? So, like, looking back, like, if I were to help somebody from zero, no skill set, doing a pay per appointment, any type of performance based agency is by far the easiest way to get to 10, 20, 30 grand a month. I'm doing 30 grand a month right now, like cash, and we're trying to get to 100, and we could talk about scaling now in a second. I've done it directly through Outreach. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
content. I don't have a YouTube channel for real. Like, I don't have that. And
Which is part of the reason he has such fantastic margins.
Outreach, yeah, yeah. I mean, Outreach, it's doesn't cost much to do it. Um, One big thing that I want to iterate, and I told you about this as well, David, is like selling the same marketing system that you get good at. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you work with like let's say you're like, hey, I want to work with like a high ticket B2B SaaS company. Like that's the industry I want to work with. High ticket B2B SaaS, right?
Yeah.
And let's say that for you to acquire those SaaS clients, let's say you're doing like LinkedIn outreach as an example, right?
Yeah.
If you get really, really proficient and good at LinkedIn outreach and you spend the time to get over like being a how do you call it, delusional optimist, right? Like you get over that like initial learning period, you'll get good at it. And like that's a skill that you hold. In my opinion, it's like, well, try and get that same exact thing and sell that if possible. Like do LinkedIn outreach as the service to get appointments since you can get appointments doing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if I were to restart, I would do exactly that. I'd pick a high ticket industry. I'd figure out how I can reach them. And I could see if, I mean, ideally, right before I get into it, that I could do that exact same channel, that exact same outreach or cold calling or whatever type of method it's going to be for them to book appointments, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the big like question mark here is like people are going to be like, David, I'm not confident I could book appointments, right? Well, it's like if you get good at Instagram outreach or cold calling, like, dude, you could go and just hire a cold caller to book appointments for your client, get them
Yeah.
to cover their cost. I do that. It's like ad spend, right? Like, hey, you spend 300 a month. This covers the cost of us to operate the system, and then you're just paying X amount per appointment. Boom,
Yeah.
right there. You're not going into the red on a cold caller. And since you're good at cold calling, because that's the thing you're doing to get clients, you can do it for them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the philosophy I have, like starting from scratch, no skill set. It's like pick one skill set and offer that too.
Yeah, exactly. Like just get super, super good at one thing. And that's kind of the beauty of running an agency. Like at the end of the day, you're using marketing and sales to sell marketing and sales for another company. As
Yeah.
like you remove that third variable of like whatever your back end product might be, which is super, super valuable. Um, do we want to talk a little bit about the scaling side
Yeah.
for the people that, may have an agency or are thinking about transitioning over, try to kind of picture what it looks like to actually, scale past not just like the 30, 50K a month mark, but past the 100K a month mark. What that takes. Do we want to kind of dive into some of those topics now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like just to like recap, we went over how it works, right? Like PPA, like what we're doing and how to start. Like it's easy to get your first client. Like pick an outreach platform, tell them you can get them appointments and it's a performance basis, like you will land a client. You know what I mean? Then just get good at the thing, make sure you're booking them appointments, and then now's where we get to scale, right? Which is difficult and it's the hardest part. And we're going to talk about it because it's something I'm actively learning, you as well with the model, right? Like
Yeah.
how we can scale it and what we're doing to get to like 100, and past that per month.
Yeah.
So why don't you start? Tell me kind of because you've been dropping some sauce on the scaling aspect. Drop some game, right? If somebody's trying to scale this,
Yeah.
um,
I'll share a little bit. So one of the biggest things I look at when it comes to scaling, um, so because for reference, I've taken a couple companies, kind of peak I've hit, where I was like the full owner of a company is right around 200 a month. But when it comes to scaling, one of the biggest lessons I learned is like you need to be very efficient with where you put manpower, meaning that a lot of people will just hire for the sake of hiring. They think more people will kind of solve the problem. The issue is that people can churn, right? People also that aren't paid well won't be as incentivized. And so I really look at how can I have as few people on board as possible, but like basically have just A players and give them leverage, right? They give me leverage, but I want to give them leverage within the business. And so an example of this is when we get a lead, right? And we have different ways we can get, people to raise their hand and show interest in our client service. But right, just for this example, let's say we're talking about like lead form, right? Someone submits a lead form, lead comes in. We have everything go into one channel, or well, not one channel, but one workspace on Slack, and each client separately has their own channel. This means that one setter, right, only has to have two tabs open. What a lot of people will do is they have to monitor 10 or 15 go high level sub accounts to be able to manage all of their clients' leads. All of our like submissions go straight into these separate channels within our Slack. And so it'll light up white when like a new lead has come in, essentially. And it also forwards information. It says, hey, what did they submit, their info, right? Their address, all of that stuff. And we have what are called trigger links. And this means that without having to go into that client sub account, my setter can just hit that link and it's going to activate a workflow within our sub account, meaning that it automates and basically says, hey, we're about to call you now. Sends a message, hey, we're about to call you now. All they need to do then is manually copy the number and the name of that person, and we isolate everything within one basically booking sub account, right? So we have our separate sub accounts for our clients where we run their actual marketing from to get people to raise their hand, say, hey, I'm interested, right? And then when we get them to raise their hand, everything goes into one basically appointment setting sub account, which can be monitored by between one to, as many as you want really, but 1 to 4 setters. And we just label, hey, name and then business name that they're associated with, put their number in, and then we call. Right. And basically what that means is we have a unified inbox for all of our clients, meaning that when they get booked, we just star that contact and then send that off to the client immediately. It's sent through the calendar. Right. But if for some reason that person doesn't pick up right away, instead of having to kind of hope that we can, follow up and monitor, all these different sub accounts, anytime someone texts back, bumps to the top of that unified inbox and they're already labeled with the company they're associated with. So we can have one setter basically do all of the setting for 10 or 15 live accounts at any one time. As you start to get to more volume, you need more, right? Because the inbox gets more busy. But it means that they only have to monitor one Go High Level sub account. They only have to monitor one Slack channel. But all of our clients are having their appointments come in there, and then all of our clients are being contacted through this one sub account. And then the cool thing is, if there is like a slow period, let's say nobody's submitting anything, right? You're not having any fresh leads come in. It's also very easy for your setter to stay busy instead of just going through and having to monitor through all these different sub accounts. they just go and ring through the list of people that haven't scheduled or haven't picked up yet that are all listed out in the sub account. And then we'll have times where we have everything paused on our marketing campaigns, right? But then this one setter is just ringing through, and they'll schedule, 7, 10, however many appointments just off of people that hadn't already scheduled, that had said, hey, I'm interested a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Right. And it's super easy to work that because of the structure there. So point being, that's a very specific example, but simplify your working process. I always say, like, if you need them to keep like constantly switching tabs, it's too complex, right? They should be able to operate everything from one laptop screen. It basically like split between 2 to 3 max windows, and they should be able to run everything with that. That's going to be an efficient, scalable process, because you can teach that to someone who, they don't need to be the smartest person on the planet to be able to manage that, if that makes sense. But I also, the last thing I'll add, and I'll let you go, is the other thing is it removes the excuse of, like, if they have to initiate effort to go and hunt through other sub accounts to find people to call, especially if they're on a base salary, they're not going to want to do that. So they're going to be working very efficiently, right? Versus I'm getting as close to like a booked appointment for them as possible, where it's just like sitting there, like they have to hit it, because either the lead comes in and they just have to book it, or that person replied in this one account. So it's just like they see it bump top of inbox. Like, it's right there.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hit the call button. So I make it as easy as possible, as streamlined as possible for my team member to work that, if that makes sense.
Which is sauce. And like, that's something that I'm trying to implement now, is getting like my setters, exactly what you're saying, in a streamlined way where they could basically book meetings across multiple different client sub accounts and go high level. I'm just going to talk from just like genuinely like what I'm learning and what I've done. Right. So like, here's kind of what I figured out. And this is probably a big question mark people have, right? Like, they understand, obviously, you need a channel to get attention, to get leads from. So whether you pick cold call, email, DM, ads, content, right? Like, that, it's really only 3 things you could do to get leads: is content, ads, or outreach, right? So you pick one. And then once you get a lead, it's like, okay, well, how are we going to be able to set appointments? And, oh, is it going to be a nightmare? Like, I'm going to need to hire multiple setters to like manage each account. Like, that was honestly something I was thinking about. I was like, oh, like, as I scale it up, I'm going to have this big team. Margins are going to go down. I'm a margin guy. I want to be profitable, right? I'm not here to flex a Stripe screenshot. Like, I just care about making a ton of profit and just like fucking off. Like that's honestly what I want. So like,
Yeah.
I had to think through this as well. And let me tell you kind of what I learned. I obviously, for my delivery, I have my channel to get leads. When I get a lead, I had to figure out, like, how can I book them onto appointments in a way where I could actually scale it at a good margin. So the first thing that I did was I started using an AI appointment setter, right? So like the AI setter that I use right now, it's integrated within Go High Level. So it's just Go High Level's conversation AI that you just put inside of a workflow. Once we get a lead, it triggers the conversation AI to basically text the lead to set them onto an appointment. I've tested, dude, I've made so many mistakes running this agency. I still am, you know what I mean? But like, an example was I tried voice setters, right? And I don't know how you feel about it, David, but like with what I tried, like Vappy and integrating with Make and all this stuff, I'm like, bro, it still sucks. Like, there's just so many, it's just not there yet, to like call and set appointments. So I went to the next best step. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just be setting over text with the AI, right? And I got it to work very well. So the second I get a lead for a client, my AI will go and I have it trained on each client, and it'll text the lead back and forth and book them onto a meeting, right? And like, just like to get people's attention for a second, the other day I made $2,000, right? I didn't close anybody that day. Like, I don't know if it feels weird to you. Like, I've always had to hunt. Like, I'm not getting paid unless I'm on a sales call and I close. No, I made $2,000 just in appointment fees, right?
Yeah.
Which is just like a freaking, I don't know. It's like a belief opener. It's like, holy crap! Like, that was cool. I've never experienced that, right? So, and a lot of those appointments were booked through the AI. What did I realize, right? I could make this more efficient. So, what I did is I hired an overseas setter, somebody from the Philippines that has over 10 years of B2B cold calling experience, to go in and call all of my leads the second that they positively respond, right? I pay this guy, I think it's like $1,000 a month. And right now he's managing all of my clients. So I'm spending 1,000 a month on the setter, and there's two ways that I book appointments for my clients and I get paid. My AI that'll text the homeowner back and forth to book them onto an appointment, and my setter that'll call them up, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's where I'm at right now. Like I want to see how far I can go with one setter until I add in another. And I'm doing things like you just mentioned, getting it all in one place, one sub account for them to manage. Like that alone is going to be a game changer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's a common thing people are probably going to ask is like, well, how the hell am I going to book appointments for all of these clients? I would look into an AI texter and then like a cheap overseas good setter, you know, like a good cold caller or something like that, man. Like depends on the industry you're booking appointments for, but that's kind of what I have built, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And just try and make it very linear where you can copy and paste your process. Like, I don't want to have to hire a new account like rep for every account because I don't want to have like I want it to be my margin goes up as I scale until I hit a point where I have to make a new hire. But I want that one hire to, I'm paying them a baseline. And then if I can have them work 10 accounts instead of 2 accounts, my margin goes up, right? Because we're netting more. So I think that's hugely important. Another concept I think is really valuable to talk about as well, especially for people where they're like concerned about getting the first sale, is forced consumption. So we've talked about
oh
this a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Drop the sauce, yeah.
yeah. So, um, one of the things that's super valuable, and Christian and I have both talked about this, is your sort of back end selling systems to prep someone. So I talked with Christian. What's your close rate on people that don't consume anything between the set and the close?
Oh my god. Okay, so I did these numbers the other day. My average close rate right now, it's right under 40% on this offer, which is good, you know. Um, when I get sales calls with people that don't consume any content. Now, I know I mentioned I don't have social media pages, but I have a funnel built out where people, the second they book a meeting with me, this is for my acquisition, right? The second they book a meeting, they go through a sequence of videos that explain the process and basically pre-sell them. This is something I've been doing forever. I call it like a pre-selling library. Like I have these videos that handle every objection, that walk them through the process. The people that consume that content close at 80 to 90%. They
And then
get on the call, like asking how to start. Like
exactly.
some people might think we're full of crap. Like, do it. Like, if you make the right videos and they go and consume it, they will be sold because you're just telling them through a video the same things you would do on the sales call. So, if anything, you're just leveraging your time. I can riff on this because this is like, I love this stuff, right? You're like, if you repeat the same things on sales calls, make it into a video.
Yeah.
You know, like at first principle, like you have to say certain things on a sales call. They've never seen you before to get them to trust you enough to start, right? And agree. Especially at this price point, or really like this performance angle. There's this equation that I tell like my coaching guys, and it's like the higher your price point is, the more time they need to spend with you. Like it's directly correlated.
Yep.
Would you agree? The higher
Yeah,
the price point.
I would actually say it's kind of like it's kind of an exponential graph where it's like as you start to like with like a low ticket product, they don't need a ton of trust. Like people will just drop $50 just like to see what it is. And then once you start to get past that like $300 price point, it just exponentially increases because it's that's where things start to sting a little. And like that what happens is they start to, is one of my mentors, Alan, always says people weigh trade-offs. What else could I get for what I'm putting into this, right? And so it's kind of the same principle, like because Christian's extremely talented at content. Like you were running an extremely successful coaching business before you focused on just really doubling down on the sort of model we're talking about now, which was purely fed by content. One little like thing to add is in your setting process, while you're on the phone with them, first of all, always call to confirm your appointments. If you have like, because what happens is if you're booked out with like 9 appointments and you don't do that first call the day before, I basically like I don't necessarily just like cancel it off the calendar, but I'll open up the slot and assume it's free and allow someone to book over it. If I don't after 3 double dials throughout the day plus multiple texts throughout the day before, if they don't respond to any of that, they're almost inevitably not going to show to a Zoom meeting with you, right? Because responding to a text or picking up a call is easier than taking time out of your day scheduling the Zoom meeting. So if they don't, so you should be doing that regardless, because it's going to help you structure your next day and make sure you don't end up like twiddling your thumbs for 9 hours, where you thought you were going to be talking to 9 different potential clients and you only talked to 2, right? So that's the first piece. But the second thing is, on that call, when you confirm, you send them all of the resources again instead of just hoping that they went through it. You manually send it to them on the call. You make them confirm the time on their calendar. You make them basically text you back so that you can send them the links. You make them open the links while they're on the phone with you. And then you end that call with, hey, just real quick, because sometimes the video, I just want to make sure the link works for you. Click on the video, see if that plays for you. Is that working? Okay, fantastic. Do you have like 10 more minutes, just real quick? Yeah, I got 10 more minutes. Fantastic. I'll let you go here. If you 1.5x that video, just go through that now, just so you can get everything clear. Make sure you don't have any sort of questions. Text me back if anything comes up. But that way, when we get on the call, instead of me just kind of reiterating, and I always say this, instead of me just asking you a million questions, which I'm sure you're sick of, like we can just get straight to it. You're gonna have full context on what we do, and you just ask questions. I'll answer whatever you want. If it makes sense, we can get you started. If not, absolutely no worries. Okay. And they're like incentivized to watch the video now. One, because it's like on their phone ready to play, right? But two, you also like explain why it's in their benefit, right? I don't want to waste my time on a call with you where I have to explain a million things from scratch. This is a concise, I literally trimmed and edited this down to give you all the key pieces as efficiently as possible, and you can 1.5x speed it. Like, we will both save an immense amount of time if you go through this in advance, and almost everybody ends up going through that. And it's a way to artificially increase the number of people that come in pretty much ready to buy.
That is game. And like, for somebody listening to this right now, they need to understand how important that is. Let me give like some real talk, like unfiltered. This is genuinely what I think. Okay. Um, so I'm still the closer, right? I'm still taking my sales calls, and I'm probably going to be doing that until about like 50 to 100 grand a month. Um, I never, ever, ever want to take a sales call with somebody that'll ask me when they get on the call, what do you do? Who are you? Who are you? What do you do? Get to the point. How much does it cost? Right out the gates. And that's coming from like a painful experience. That year that I was in the trenches, guess what I dealt with? A whole lot of that every single call. What do you do? Get to the point. Blah, blah, blah. That's not a sales call, bro. Like,
that's an education call.
Yeah, like it's terrible. It's awful. And that will still happen to me sometimes if they're not consuming those videos. And I call it like a due diligence page, right? That I'll send these people. Do your due diligence on this. Go through this before the call so you properly understand everything. So I don't have to explain the whole thing to you on the call, right? If I get somebody on the call and they haven't watched those videos, they're going to close at like 10, 20%. The sales cycle's longer. It's going to take multiple Zoom calls, right? They're naturally more skeptical, even if they do it, right? Like, if they don't consume all this content, for me, it'll take like a couple different calls. They might have to go and call some of my clients, right? Like, I have to do all of these things to get them to trust
what
me.
ends up happening as well, it's really important to keep in mind. These are the guys that are like, hey, like, they don't take the time to watch a 10-minute video, but then they're like, but then now you're having to spend 3 hours on calls together. Plus, they're having to call your clients. Like, these people are like, they didn't take the time to just watch a video that's 10 minutes. They may say, hey, I want to talk to some of your clients. Let's schedule a second call. But they're probably never going to call your client. And they're probably not going to show to the second call because they couldn't even take the 10 minutes. Right. So it's also a really good filter of like, is this going to end up being like a halfway decent client? Now, there's a balance. I will mention this, and I think this is really important to mention. Like, very high net worth, very successful clients, this is part of where the forced consumption process came from. Is if you send me a video over DM, for example, like, hey, I can help. I get tons of people asking to scale my offer, right? Or, I can growth op you. I'm like, you've never run a business. But like, if you send me a video over DM, I'm not watching it, right? Yeah. Like, realistically. So and same thing can happen with some of these like higher net worth, more successful clients you work with, is they may go to the thank you page and they may be busy and they won't go through it. That's why I always call them first. But instead of doing our like closing call, it's just like a 5-minute phone call. So like, okay, like I can make a good impression on them where I earn, and all I'm trying to sell them on that is this guy seems like I have a good first impression of him. So I'm willing to take the time now to watch the 10 minutes to see if that first impression also holds true over the offer. Sometimes you have to set with like the more successful guys, often you have to sell them on taking the time to consume it to see if it's worthwhile. And so that's why I really like doing that call first, because oftentimes some people are just lazy, but other guys are just super busy and they won't watch the stuff in advance, and then it's a really hard sell. So the first call is just like that 10 minutes that you take to confirm the appointment. One, it will save you blocks the next day. If you have 2 people that don't confirm back to back, I can be like, hey, this is basically either a time I can go reach out to potential other clients or get a task done, right? So it'll save me time there. But also, I'm then, after confirming it, I'm also making that person significantly more likely to convert because I'm giving them a reason to go through the video. They've talked to me now already. Like, people need to be told what to do. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch a video, but if I schedule a call with you and then you call me and you say, hey, go through this, it's 10 minutes, and I have the intention of like showing up to that call, I will go through the video because someone reached out to me and kind of said, hey, do this. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Right. But even though I might not have gone out of my way to do it. You see what I mean? So that's why I think before consumption is so powerful.
It is everything. Like, let me give people an example, like something actionable somebody could do, right? When I was selling my first agency offer, like the Facebook ad offer with the PIF model and all that stuff, I dealt with everything we just talked about. Like, hey, what do you do? Sales calls that would drag on for 2 hours, people that were skeptical even after they bought, like all these that low show up rates, low close rates. I dealt with these issues for a very, very long time, right? And what I realized is that the clients that would close, there was always a common pattern, right? Number one is I would sell them on me. That's the first thing. I would sell them on myself. How would I do that? By telling them my story, right? Story selling. I would tell them the story about how my mom was a broker and how she dealt with these problems and like I figured out the solution and da 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 da. That sells them on me as a person, right? As I go through the discovery with them and I ask them all these questions, I understand everything, then I go to my process and I might share my screen and show them how our process works. So that sells them on the process, right?
Yep.
The last thing is you get all these objections, all these different objections about the process and questions and all the stuff. So you have the objections. Somebody right now can go and make a video explaining their story, right? How they got to doing this thing that they do now, why they're doing it, right? I heard a saying that why you're selling is more important than the thing that you're selling. People want to know why are you selling me this? Why are you selling me appointments, right? Oh, it's because my mom was a broker and she didn't get good leads and that, you know what I mean? Like that sells, dude. So go make a video, explain your story, how you ended up here, kind of like the hero's journey. Like you faced these problems, you solved them for yourself, you got to this eloquent solution. The story, the process, right? The same thing you would spend 20 minutes showing on a sales call, just make that into a video and make them watch it before the call, right? With objections, whatever objections you're getting, whatever questions you're getting, put that into a short video that they watch before the call. If you do that, you'll make a whole lot more money. But like, so that's like, are you on the same page with that? Like, I think if somebody goes and does that, they're going to get a higher show up rate, more closes. And if they force them to consume it the way you're saying, bro, that's going to be a game changer. Like that's sauce right there. Now, like one of the last things here I want to iterate on is right now, like I said before, I'm pitching basically like a $2,000 commitment, right? And I structured it that way on purpose. I'm like, hey, we're going to start with like 10 appointments, $200 each. Now, I don't think $2,000 is a price point where we could consider it to be in the category of being like an impulse purchase. Like, I don't think you impulse purchase a $2,000 thing. No. You know, unless you're like Warren Buffett or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're not impulse buying $2,000.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, why do I do that? I think we could talk about this as well. Client quality, right?
Yeah.
I found that like if I can get them to commit to $2,000, it's a sweet spot that I found with realtors.
Yep.
It filters out a lot of like the broker people that are probably going to be like the worst clients biggest headaches, most problems, complaining, refund request. You know what I mean? Like it gets rid of that crowd, and I found that that's been a game changer for me. Now, if you're starting over, like you don't need to go and do this like forced consumption right now and build out all these videos because you can have an impulse purchase offer.
Yeah.
You can go on the first client. Don't ask for a 2K commitment. You don't have proof.
Don't need to.
You don't have proof that they're not going to spend the $2,000 and it's going to go in the dumpster, right? Like I have case studies. Like that's why I did it. When you're starting, let's say you copy exactly what I'm doing, right? 200 an appointment. Go to a realtor or a roofer or a agency owner or a coach or anybody, sell side ticket, and say, hey, I want to bring you appointments. It's 200 each. No contract, no commitment, no nothing. What does that mean? That means like it could spend $200 getting an appointment and not be satisfied, right? But that's an impulse buy. Sure, I'll try it. Like, give me an appointment. Let me see how it
$200.
goes.
Let me see if the quality's good.
Exactly. Like that's the simplest way to start. You know what I mean? Like you
And if
literally
you
just
can't
rip
get
it
me
like
an
that.
appointment, I don't lose anything. So you know what? Let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So like that's what I would say. Like if you're starting, don't overcomplicate it because a lot of people just have analysis paralysis. Like we could make a whole nother video just about mindset and taking action and volume and like what's required to actually get results. Because I think most people would be shocked, like expectations versus reality of the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. That's a whole nother can of worms that we could talk about. If people love this video, they want more sauce from us. Maybe we drop like a full mindset productivity video. Dude, I have so much on that. But yeah, I think to recap on my end with it, if you're starting, dude, don't do a high ticket. Like that's the whole reason for pay per appointment is like it's a no brainer to say yes to. You can get your first client tomorrow. Why? Because it's an input. Like it's not something they have to think about with their wife. You know what I mean? Like it's like, hey, yeah, I'll spend $200.
You know, some people spend that on gasoline for if they have a big car. So it's like
I spent $200 in dumber ways. I can tell you that much. I have a mini trampoline. I spent $200, like $200, whatever. So that's if you're starting, and then as you're scaling, you could do the things that we're incorporating. Get them to commit to a higher price point because you have case studies now and you're buying a batch of appointments. Have them force consume videos like your story, your process, objection handlers, and then systemizing everything like you're talking about with like the setters and everything like that. So, dude, I think that fully encompasses basically what we have going on. I don't know. What do you think, man? Is there anything else you want to add on?
I think we touched on a lot of the points. I think main like last things I'd leave people with is like, first of all, if you're looking to start something like this, the biggest killer of like my thing is like the biggest killer of dreams isn't people saying no to it, it's them saying later. Because what happens is when you delay it, like the sort of pain of not doing it starts to lessen, right? So this is something that you like actually, if like starting something like this is something you want to do, like take the step to start it, right? And just start reaching out to people, right? Just start getting your feet wet by talking to a couple people in an industry, right? In the industry, it doesn't even matter that much, right? You want something where they can make an ROI, and that's about all that really matters. But just like start getting your feet wet with it and start kind of plugging along a little bit. Like you're never going to figure out the entire business before you start the business. So if this is something you want to do, I think one of the things that Christian and I, did early on that has been conducive to actually succeeding with business, which is not an easy thing to do necessarily, is the fact that we just kind of took the steps and just like started doing it, right? We just kind of pulled the trigger, and I don't think either of us had much idea what we were doing in the beginning. We just kind of were like, okay, I'm supposed to outreach to these people, but like then things start to fall in line. And at this point, we've now been doing this for years, right? Like everything is like it's like a holistic picture. But it's like to start the puzzle, you have to put the first two pieces together, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually over time, the whole kind of tapestry, the picture forms, right? But
Yeah.
I think that's probably my main piece of advice for either an agency owner who wants to transition. And it's like, dude, I just don't know where to start with starting the new model. It's like just begin like outreaching and in offering a slightly different service and let the pieces come together. Or someone who wants to start their first business, same thing, right? Just start making the contacts, start doing some of the inputs, and everything kind of falls into place from there.
Dude, I'll tell you what. So people that are still listening right now, I don't know how long are we in, like an hour-ish or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, the people that are still listening right now are like the guys that are serious. They're like, oh my God, like this makes sense. Like I want to do it. And I want to talk like on a real level, just real quick. We'll wrap it up with this, but I think this is real. Like I want you to hear me on this as well. This is genuinely what I think. Um, you need to let me see how the best way that I can put it, David. How do you get good at riding a bike? If you've never ridden a bike before, how do you get
Just
good at riding?
start doing it, right?
Yeah. But if you've never ridden a bike before, you might say like, what if I fall over? What if I don't know how to do the pedals? What if I don't know how to turn, right? Like, and like with the bike example, it's very simple. I think anybody would say that. Oh, you just get on the bike and you start riding,
Just start
right?
pedaling.
But that same example is in everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how to do outreach, right? Well, how do you get good at outreach? You do it. Oh, I can't take sales calls. You do it. Oh, I don't know if I'll get my clients appointments. You just do it. You know what I mean? Like you just start. And I think the big thing that I want to iterate, or I keep saying iterate, that I want to like, go deeper on is the fact
Reinforce
that
it.
yeah, I was dumb enough to start. I was dumb enough to take action. I don't think I'm definitely not the smartest person on earth, right? But I think that served me to a certain degree because I was
Just like,
dumb enough to just go, dude, and just start, bro.
yeah,
And I never
just hit the
like
gas.
you never have the plan clearly laid out, right? You start with a plan, you take action, you see the result, and you iterate on that result, whether it worked for you and you do more of it or it didn't work and you pivot and you go to something else, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, dude, that's a whole separate video, but I was dumb enough to start and I just got on the bike, right? There's a million questions and a million unknowns, and you just figure it out by doing it.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's the perfect note to kind of end people on. I
Yeah.
hope for the people that stuck around, hopefully you got some really good stuff from both of our experiences. We've been in the business space for a while, and I think we both really we've talked about it a lot because Chris and I will chat, and like just in terms of like a business model, I haven't found one in a while where it's like I see so much like potential for someone who's new, but also so much upside. Like an actual vehicle where it's not just good for making your first, 10K a month online, but you can actually ride that same ship to, hitting your first $1 million a year. And so I think this is a really good one to start. I'm not saying that this is the one you necessarily should start. There's a lot of different things out there, but I think from our experience and what we've done and having seen it work, this is something we figured, hey, we should hop on and just share a little bit about it. So hope you
Just
guys.
what we're doing. Yeah. We hope you got value out of it, man. I mean, we dropped, yeah, I didn't hold anything back, and just drop down below if you want to see more or what questions you got. But
Christian and
yeah,
I are on all the time, so it's just about hitting record.
we're always spitting game. We just have to slap record and then we'll release a banger. But
Exactly.
yeah, dude. Thanks for doing this. All right.
Definitely.
All right, boys. Take care. Peace out.